right. I think we're gonna get started soon. People are still joining in, but let's make a start. So good afternoon and welcome everybody. My name is Anna Kamoche from Biomapas's marketing team. Just a bit quick disclaimer before we start. The webinar today will be recorded for distribution purposes. And as you may have noticed, your cameras and microphones are disabled. So if you have any concerns, comments, please just leave them in the chat. You can find them on the bottom of your screen. Sorry, there we go. So as the title suggests, today we will discuss how technology can optimize operational workflows in medical information and pharmacovigilance. We will be exploring interconnected scientific systems, insight-driven decision-making, processes and challenges, and full affiliate support. At the end of the session, there will be a chance to ask some questions. So please leave your questions in the Q&A box. You can also find it at the bottom of your screen. But before we dive into that, I will be stealing just a couple of very short minutes to talk about Biomapas. Why are we the ones who talk about this topic? And I will be introduce our speakers as well. So as an outsourcing partner for the life sciences industry, Biomapas covers anything from drug development consultancy to post-authorization support, basically the whole life cycle. Our range of services includes regulatory affairs, clinical research, pharmacovigilance, and medical information. We have been in the industry for over 2 decades now, covering 6 continents, 60 countries in the CIS, MENA, Europe, and many other regions. And now about our speakers. Olga Asimaki is our head of global medical information and international QPPV. She's a certified medical affairs professional with extensive experience across pharmacovigilance and medical information. And Martijn van der Leur, our chief operating officer for PV, regulatory affairs and medical information. He has 2 decades of expertise in these fields, along with a background as an established industry speaker. And with that, I would like to give the floor to our speakers, Martijn and Olga.
Thank you very much, Anna, and welcome everybody. It's really a pleasure to have you all today here. I see we have a big crowd on the call. As Anna already said, we're very much welcoming your questions, and we always hope to have some interaction. So please use the functionality for that. Somewhere, for me, it's at the bottom of my screen, but you will find it somewhere. And let's start. We're going to start with a few slides. I will explain a few things. Olga will explain a few things. We might interrupt each other. You might interrupt us through the chat. We'll see how that goes. As said, I usually like the interaction. Let's start from the, let's say, formal presentation part. What we try to do here today as learning objectives is to talk a bit and get you some learnings on what is the value of consolidating data. And then I'm talking not only about medical information, but of course, data that comes from pharmacovigilance, so adverse events, but also quality even, you know, PQCs. What we see there, of course, is that all these kind of reports follow some kind of similar flow. So how can you do that with the same kind of intake? What are the advantages of that? How does that lead to a consistent, compliant, and efficient handling? That's one thing. Once you have all that data together, next step comes. What can you do with this consolidated data? You can have consolidated medical insights. So ultimately, that leads to a better awareness and comprehension of development of insight-driven decision-making, as we wrote there in green. In other words, you know, how can you be more on top of your product, know better what's happening, not from one source, but in a holistic approach from all your sources, make the best decisions altogether and in an efficient way. And the link between all of that, of course, comes from technology and automation in technology. What do you need there? What are the options? How can you really integrate all that data and the decision making with the use of the right technology? So that's the other thing we're trying to bring to you a bit today. Again, let us know if you have any questions and we'll try to answer them. As said, we will do a few introductory slides. This part shows a bit the similarities between pharmacovigilance and medical information, but I have to say that they are separate things. You see in many companies that they are sometimes treated quite separately or completely separately, or you see differences between local and headquarters, whether it's combined or not. But let me tell you a little bit, just as a very high level introduction. What is pharmacovigilance? That's, of course, this whole, well, the definition you see there, this science related to the whole detection, assessment, understanding of adverse effects and other related drug problems. So what we're trying to do with pharmacovigilance is, of course, to monitor safety of our products and to make sure, ideally, that we're ahead of problems, that you can already predict what are going to be the risks, what are potential risks, and make sure you take actions ahead of adverse events happening. So that's a primary objective of pharmacovigilance. If we then look at medical information, that's about, giving access to the right information on drugs, about their indications, how they can be used in a proactive way, but especially also, being available to healthcare providers, to customers, to whoever needs access to additional information that they hadn't found themselves already, that you're able as a pharma company, or in our case, as a service provider to the pharma companies, to provide immediately access to the right, reliable information. So educating patients about benefits and risk of the drugs is also part of medical information. And you see there is already a big overlap with pharmacovigilance. Apart from the channels and the processes and the systems that are being used, also on the purpose, there is a lot of overlap. And that's where you see that pharmacovigilance and medical information both have a common goal of ensuring safe and effective use of medicines. If we then look a little bit more like what is the legal background for that, of course, there are things written in legislation about this. So the regulatory framework on medical information, just a few examples here. There's one article from a directive that says the marketing authorization holder shall establish within his undertaking a scientific service in charge of information about the medicinal product which he places on the market. Scientific service. It's not a commercial service. The other thing from another directive for the EU, it says persons qualified to prescribe or supply medicinal products must have access to a neutral, objective source of information about products available on the market, aka medical information. What else can we see? This is from a directive that also describes pharmacovigilance requirements. Provisions governing the information supplied to users should provide a high degree of consumer protection so that medicinal products may be used correctly based on full and comprehensible information. Last but not least, another quote here. The Good Pharmacovigilance Practice Framework, GVP, it includes requirements for medical information services. This means that the services are included within the scope of regulatory inspections of good pharmacovigilance practice. So this shows that also legally in legislation, there is this connection even required by legislation. Those of you who have ever been into a GVP inspection know that there will always be questions about medical information as well. You might have to bring in your MI experts, or at least you may get questions about the sources of information that you have in pharmacovigilance. And one of them is medical information. So this is naturally something you cannot escape, and you should think even more like, wouldn't it be better to integrate it a bit further? With that being said, I would like to hand over to the real expert, Olga. Can you tell us a bit more about the value of medical information?
Thank you very much, Martijn, and welcome everyone. I will start with maybe a provocative statement about medical information. You may have heard many times that medical information may be only a call center. For me, this is a misunderstanding that comes mainly from US, where the term medical information call or contact center is used. Medical information is the main point of contact and has the responsibility of providing medical information to external stakeholders, as well as making the intake of safety information through various channels. So in order to avoid further misuse of the term call contact center, I just want to make clear that it reflects the mean of communication rather than medical information activity itself. And this is very related to these slides because also we can see very clearly the value of medical information. And what is the value? To have insights, strategic insights about information and experience that we gather from the end users, and also the monitoring of the trends. So regarding information and experience, this is also the definition of medical information. Of course, to provide evaluated, balanced information on clinical aspects of medicines to take informed decisions, feedback and insight analysis to shape medical strategy and make business decisions. I have seen many times in my past medical information insights to really influence business decisions and even change the strategy based on the feedback received. Improve the patient experience with the products. And of course, this is very important for companies with upcoming new portfolio to have awareness of the solutions even before a product is on the market. And of course, this is mainly for healthcare professionals and what is presented as at early stages as satellite symposium posters in conference events. And monitoring threats. Off-label use and potential for therapeutic expansion. This is a real synergy between medical information and pharmacovigilance. The chances, the information that we receive from patients and healthcare professionals about off-label use, we have seen in the past that they have not only expanded therapeutic indications, but also changed authority indications. Identify early the need to address safety, efficiency, or quality issues before even they become so serious that we receive alerts about them. And of course, determine the high impact areas of focus on potential medical education, retraining, or product needs. We may see that our product information leaflet needs an update because we receive the same question all the time. Maybe it is not very clear. Maybe there is a misuse of the product. All these things can really support the trending and the value of medical information. Anna presented at the beginning about insight-driven decision-making in pharma industry. How we can have insights. We can have insights about the safety and efficiency of our products via two different means. The pharmacovigilance and of course the safety database that includes all the information about adverse events and flag drug safety signals, assessing risk and interpreting clinical trial results. And of course, this we are talking about big data that they need further analysis. And separately, we usually have the medical information database that if we do correct analysis, we can identify R&D opportunities, improve the patient experience and the healthcare outcomes, and of course also facilitate the detection of safety information early. So these two databases that are usually different hold insights that can inform strategic decisions and advance additional business goals while reducing errors and making drug use more efficient and safer. And of course, when they are separate, we need separate analysis, gather the data, and then conclude on the results and take decisions.
Olga, I have a question, if you don't mind. We promised to interrupt each other. I am very familiar myself with safety databases, and I know how huge and complicated they can be. In my past, they were always very separated from medical information. I had no idea about medical information, and still, I know that you know the medical information databases much better, and also safety databases. So what I'm curious is, can you tell us a bit, how does a safety database compare to a medical information database?
Mm-hmm. The biggest similarity is that both databases, the safety and the MedInfo one, are usually in cloud. And as I mentioned before, are repositories of data about one or multiple medicinal products based on our portfolio, coming from various sources and from multiple geographic areas. Safety database is a pool of ICSRs throughout product life cycle, while medical information database is a pool of medical inquiries, but can also include adverse events and product quality complaints that they were collected during medical information activities. And as mentioned, analysis of data from both databases can provide us with different types of insights. The biggest difference now is the purpose of the databases. For those that they are very familiar with pharmacovigilance, they know that safety databases facilitate the assessment and reporting of individual and aggregate safety data to authorities and third parties, and provide key information and reports for the detection of safety signals and the ongoing evaluation of risk-benefit profile of the company's product. Medical information database is mainly a tool for the intake and case management of medical inquiries with functionalities such as the response package, cover letter generation, email response fulfillment, but also the intake of adverse event and product quality complaints and their reporting to the relevant departments. So I would characterize safety database as a regulatory requirement and medical information database more as a business tool that, of course, also facilitates compliance during inspections and audits. However, the model that we will present today, that is also the purpose of today's webinar, is to provide suggestion on how we can integrate most of the activities under the same tool, not only the same individual, not only under the same resources, to avoid duplication of efforts, and the safety database to be used as minimum as possible during official last steps. So with this in mind, I will go to the next slide. And is it this one or I bypassed mine? No, it's this one. Okay. And I want to show you how non-integrated pharmacovigilance and medical information activities look like when you see it from outside. You may have two different hotlines, contact centers, let's say, that it may be mailboxes, maybe phone lines, maybe websites where you receive adverse events or medical inquiries. And in this way, I will try also to make I cannot forward. And you see that medical information can receive inquiries. These inquiries and the details are registered in MI database. In case that an adverse event, a product quality complaint is included, it needs to be communicated to PV. Then the medical information person needs to receive from PV the ID number to be able to close the cases and reconcile the records, and then send to PV monthly reports for quality checks, reviews for any missed adverse event PQC report. In parallel, pharmacovigilance can receive safety reports or medical inquiries via the PV line and manage them separately, forward the inquiry to medical information, also collect the report and log the information in the safety database, send back to the medical information the ID, as we mentioned before, for reconciliation, track and manage its follow-up via other means, and of course, review the medical information reports and open campus in case of missed adverse events reports. So most of the activities happen in parallel from two different teams and two different systems. And this is how, this is the question, how we can limit the efforts, how we can avoid duplication of efforts, and in parallel being more compliant.
Olga, the last box, it speaks about this reconciliation, right? And that reminds me also a bit of my past. I was in pharmacovigilance, and we had such reconciliations with medical information team. No matter how much training we did, we always found a few adverse events hidden in medical information inquiries that we hadn't received yet. As a result, we got late cases and everything. That was quite difficult to get that any better. I'm now thinking, you, with your experience in medical information, did you have similar experiences? Maybe the other way around, that you had medical information inquiries hidden in PV cases that never came to you, or any examples of that? Or
this can happen both ways, exactly as you mentioned it. It's very possible, let's say, a pharmacovigilance, a local safety officer to receive information about, let's say, an adverse event, asking its monitoring or asking the management of adverse event, and focus on capturing the adverse event and never forward to Medinfo the question about how this can be monitored or managed short or long term. Similarly, for PQCs, when the people really call in a company, to be honest, I don't say that this is the correct approach, but they call for a reason that it's not actually to report the adverse event of PQC or PQC. So if they call and they say that the needle was bent or they were not able to use the product correctly, some of the times they may ask for free of charge replacement or for alternative ways of dosage because this dosage was missed. So also this case is very possible, and those inquiries can be missed in the same way that, let's say, medical information can receive inquiries about use in pregnancy, provide information about data for use in pregnancy without making additional clarifications if this is related to a specific patient or if it is a general question. So both ways, the risks to miss safety information or have non-satisfied customers because they didn't take what they wanted are very high when we have two different departments working in parallel for the same purpose.
Exactly. Pregnancy was a very typical example indeed. That happened so often that we got an MI inquiry asking like, can I use this during pregnancy? And then we even had discussions with the MI department, like, guys, but you need to ask, like, was the patient using it during pregnancy? Because we need to record that in the safety database. And
Exactly,
those are
exactly.
typically what I call the hidden adverse events or special situations that you also need to track. Yeah.
And this is why also most of the medical information databases, if they are built from experts having in mind all the possible scenario, they should have mandatory fields that you cannot close, you cannot save the case if you have not asked if this is related to a patient or not.
Mm-hmm.
So with this kind of validation rules, let's say, we are trying usually to protect ourselves and our clients from this kind of mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
In this case, and continuing from the previous slide, I want to show you how easier our life and how more straightforward the activities would be if we have same team and same system working not in parallel, but in the same database. We could have an omni-channel intake for pharmacovigilance and for medical information. And when we call omni-channel intake, this means that it can be all the means, phone lines, email boxes, websites collected in the same repository. The triage and the details to be registered in this PVMI database, and end-to-end medical inquiry and adverse event PQC reports to happen in this single PVMI database, including follow-ups. We know that follow-up recording and follow-up attempts recording is a big challenge for many companies. We saw in the previous slide that it was also happening in parallel from the pharmacovigilance team. But imagine how more efficient it would be if you don't have different trackers, separate trackers for the intake of adverse events, for the follow-up of adverse events, for the intake of medical inquiries, and be able to do a single quality check, oversight KPIs and report generation from a single database. So I think that we can see in this slide very clearly exactly the efficiencies that we can have from this kind of synergies, that they are not only artificial for the resources and the individuals that they manage the inquiries and the adverse events, but also they have a technology that supports this at the background. And saying technology, I am coming to this slide. Wanted to show you that what is our suggestion about efficient processing of adverse events, medical inquiries, and PQCs. As the volume increases, we always have either as a CRO company or as a pharmaceutical company, medical devices company, biotech company, to identify a model and a flexible system that can bring immediate returns, not only in
I think we lost Olga for a moment. She's logging out. Maybe in order not to let people wait, I will try to take over this in my way of describing it. Where Olga started from the left on the omni-channel intake. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with the term omni-channel, but omni, like multiple channels, you know, there's so many different sources, but also systems that we get our information from in the intake. So that could be your CRM. It could be a web form if that's configured. It could be a call center. It could be email. And the solution that we are working with at the moment is able to combine and integrate all those sources into one single database inbox. There's also another thing very important. What I know is that still some of the largest companies, they depend heavily on, let's say, old-fashioned systems like Microsoft Outlook. I've seen so many clogged email inboxes, just Outlook inboxes that are manually screened, where tasks are being moved from one way to another with the risk of losing things. So you need to put a lot of quality measures on top. That is something that is, you know, very hard to manage, very costly to manage it in a quality controlled way. And what we are doing there also is basically replacing that whole old-fashioned way with having this single database inbox where from all these channels the information comes in. It's not only the information coming in, but as you see there, the tasks are also things we track. You know, there are other things like the translations that are being done. Can we see where we are in that? Have we followed up? So also that, you know, apart from maybe you do it in Outlook, maybe you have separate trackers for this. I see it shockingly in sometimes rather big companies that still, these are all very manual, separate, basic systems being used. And what we are doing is combining all of that, so the receipt of information, but also those actions tracking, having that in an audit-ready fashion available in one system. That is a huge advantage to us, combined with alerts and notifications that really helps our users also to be much more effective. So what you see a bit in the middle there is that there's a number of items that we ask our local people already to put straight into this inbox in our omni-channel intake tool. So you can say the basic things, you can see the advanced things. Basic is definitely what we want. If you go to advanced, you can already consider changing a bit more in your workflow, that things that were typically done in the past later on in a headquarters or maybe in a remote data center are now things that if you do that already on a local level, you will save a lot of work downstream later on. Now, I realize that the items that you see here are very much pharmacovigilance focused, but the idea is that on our local level, we work with this, usually the same teams who can handle all these kinds of informations. So if we then look at the MI processing, see Olga is gradually coming back, and Olga, I took over your slide. I'm right now in the middle for your information on the blue box on the MI processing with the end-to-end management and content management system, having that within the same system available. Olga, maybe I gradually hand over back to you if you can comment a little bit more on this.
Yes, yes, of course. Sorry for this. I feel that in a hot country, the electricity is not trustworthy. Apologies for this. So yes, for the MI processing and for an end-to-end management, a content management system with different user roles, permissions, it's very important. Even if you are within the same company or a CRO with a pharmaceutical company, you can be the author, the reviewer, the approver of documents. And of course, interact at the same time and have interacted real time. That was to show you the use of the responses or help you identify asked. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do. There was a small interruption, but it's okay.
Good, good. Additional technology features that can further support this scalability that I was trying to explain before is an AI content assistant and content authoring for medical information part, and this means automated suggestions of answers during call based on the transcription of the inquiry. For now, this is always on human to take decisions. We are not in a place to say that we have robots responding to inquiries, but our medical information specialists during the process can have access real time via this AI tool in the already approved frequently asked questions label and standard responses. Also, artificial intelligence support with translations, duplicate search, reduction, automated reduction of sensitive information, and adverse event identification, of course, can facilitate the process for adverse events management and product quality complaints. And all this can be very seamless integrated with APIs, with databases, safety databases, and quality systems. So I want to make clear, maybe Martijn already did it, that we are not talking for safety database. As I explained in the beginning, safety database is different, and it has to do with regulatory requirements and submissions to the authorities. We are talking about a single interface for the intake and management processing of adverse events, PQCs, and medical inquiries in a way that all the information, most of the information, is processed in a single system, and adverse events, PQCs, end up for the final steps to the databases. And via this single interface, you can have access to all the data, you can have insights, dashboards, and have this real-time generation of feedback that you need without the need of doing two different analyses in two different systems. So it is an interface that can give you access to analyze the whole data via a single source of platform, of a single source of truth, and of course, facilitate the ways you make the intake and the processing of data.
Yeah, Olga, sorry to interrupt, but I think that word that you said, single source of truth, that's not one word, that's four or something. Doesn't matter. That's key. You know, what we said in the beginning, and I said it when you were just away for a bit, you know, this old-fashioned way of having Outlook inboxes, SharePoints, trackers, reconciliation needs between everything, leading to compliance gaps, leading to inefficiencies. That's gone when you talk about one single source of truth, right? That's a key to this success, I would say.
Exactly. And this is what I will try very briefly to address in the next couple of slides, because these are the common challenges that companies face with their databases and systems. So what are the common challenges? Multiple means and databases for adverse event, medical inquiry, PQC tracking, and management. And of course, maintain all the data up to date. And here is where we come and we say that we suggest an omni-channel intake in the same system, the triage and tracking for medical inquiries, adverse event, PQCs, and their reporting, the escalation, the fulfillment of medical inquiries, even follow-up queries tracking and management, documentation and proofs maintenance happen automatically in the system. You do not have to drag and drop files. You do not have to save in different share points or locally. And this is how it looks like. I would like to show you that this is how an omni-channel solution looks like. You receive emails, you receive calls, they are all tracked into the system. You can put assignees, you can assign tasks if they are for translations, for quality check, for follow-up, have alerts and notification about upcoming due dates. And I can go to the next one for the variable documentation practices among individuals and affiliates. So during audits, sometimes we have to find, to search in inboxes, where is this response? Where is this adverse event? When was it reported? And in this last automated storage of any correspondence, you can see that upon you submit an adverse event or you fulfill an inquiry, the email is automatically saved into the database, having the subject, having the date sent, and of course the functionality to download it and show it to an auditor or inspector during an audit without the need to search anywhere else other than the specific database. For the medical information content management, also many companies may have different ways to review the materials for medical information. I know that many companies even use the promotional materials reviews system that may be not fit for purpose. So the incorporated within the system content management can help you to provide, as we say, global medical information locally, all the responses to be approved by global and localized at local level, be translated and follow the local label. And of course, another challenge is this heavily being heavily dependent on Outlook mailbox. And this is the single source of truth repository that we presented earlier without the need of external email communications, local SharePoint storage. Query management, receipt, pending responses, and tracking tasks in different trackers. This is also resolved. The systems we are talking about have task managers with alerts, notification that include everything that someone needs to be aware or take actions in the future. Escalation between different internal stakeholders also is going on via this system. So it's not only for adverse event, PQCs, and medical inquiries and the teams that have access to this system. Even if you receive an inquiry about media, or if you receive an inquiry about customer service, you can forward it via the system to the relevant personnel, keep a record of these actions, close the action, and have a full audit trail of the whole case journey. And with the audit trail, I'm coming to the last challenge, tracking of adverse events PQCs at MI case level if combined or independently for standalone adverse events PQCs. Proofs and reporting details, as we mentioned before, are stored in the database, And on top, there is a detailed audit trail that can show every action. And coming to the end of the challenge is what is the value of all-in-one solution is single tracking of adverse events, medical information fiducies, medical devices incidents with unique IDs linked to each other, extracted reports for reconciliation purposes that happened directly in the system without the need of additional reconciliation between the functions. The system can support, of course, multiple queries originating from a single interaction for the same or different products, and for the same products and different indication that usually need to create additional cases. Different communication channels intake into a single omni-channel inbox, and of course, the medical information content management for full review and approval process, with direct search and distribution from the system, and of course, localization of the already globally approved responses.
I will go through these last slides. That's how we grade, Olga. So, but I realize I don't want to dwell on this for too long because I see there's a few questions from the audience. I will try to wrap this up in a few minutes and then we can spend maybe the last minutes on some questions. The benefits out of all of this, I think you got it by now, but of course this can lead to reduced fixed costs and increased efficiency. Better outcomes, that's a quality thing. This is a strategic advantage as well for your companies. Quality and compliance, you know, it's nice if you pass audits and inspections more easily, but again, it's also a financial benefit if you don't have to spend so much time on CAPAs and if things are just right the first time. And I already mentioned these improved strategic decisions that really put you in the front line of the making the best decisions on your products. And then we have one more slide here on how that works for us in Biomapas and how we support many of our clients. There are all kind of different options possible, of course, but the ultimate solution that we provide is a full affiliate support package, which goes, of course, even beyond pharmacovigilance medical information. Typically, smaller companies who don't have so much dedicated resources in all the countries, they really come to us and ask for taking over basically this whole local support beyond pharmacovigilance and medical information. In addition, we also support from our headquarters with either selected services or full global medical information coverage, global regulatory affairs, global QPPV office things. But I trust you you believe that we have all those services. I think we should go to the final remarks and conclude a bit what we have here. The pressure on finances for all of us, and also within pharma companies, within biotech companies, it will not go away. It might only increase even more. We know that some of our topics discussed here for tops of companies are not always the most popular activities, but they have to happen. Compliance is not going away. Legislation is not going away. So how to make the best of that? And that's what we try to show here today, that one very effective way to do that is to break down some of these silos that we have between departments. And we really need to work in a much more integrated way to really get optimization of our costs related to these activities. It has the other advantages as well, not only about the costs, but also just to be ahead of certain risks. And altogether, we're saying that this integrated system, it's really a fit for purpose system. It allows also for scalability. It is a very secure way. And it really allows you in companies also to have very efficient oversight on all these activities together. That being said, I believe this was my last slide, and we said we would keep some time for questions. There's not so much time. but I believe we've received a few from the audience already. If you have more questions, please keep raising. We'll try to address. Olga, I'm just looking at the question screen now. There's one. Any concrete business benefits, qualitative or quantitative, has this model already brought or is expected to bring to the organization? I don't know, Olga, can you say something about this?
Yes, very reasonable question, because we can say whatever we want in theory, but we should also have data supporting this. Qualitative benefits we have definitely increased compliance. Using a single source of truth repository with validation groups, as we said before, without being able to skip steps, so that you have to complete all the fields to make the relevant questions and clarifications, has really reduced our need for our non-conformities and the need for corrective actions. If I remember correctly, based our last data by 80%. Even the cases that from our project managers needing a reopening in the past has been reduced from 14% that it was a couple of years ago to 1% currently, exactly for the reasons that I mentioned before, because you cannot skip specific steps. So there is complete integration and consistency among affiliates. On a quantitative now side, we have seen increased productivity. Increased productivity because the people do not have to do manually many things that administrative tasks that they used to do in the past. So they really feel that they can focus more on what really matters in the strategic part of the business. And of course, with AI agents, assistants suggesting real-time responses, also productivity has been enhanced regarding the time for a response provision. So I would say that our qualitative results for non-conformities and need for additional tasks is significant right now, and also the motivation of the team for on a quantitative side was really an unexpected benefit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Okay, I see a very interesting other one and a very valid question. How will we integrate with the existing system? And if I may allude a little bit to this, this is a very common question we get indeed, because people have their own existing, let's say, safety database or the main medical information database, and they're maybe not planning to change that. But can we say anything about integrations with existing systems?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. We presented before integration of this single interface that we mentioned with safety database and quality systems. In parallel, if a company has its own medical information system, there are many companies that they use the same for quality assurance, for medical inquiries to track. We can also make integration of our system with these systems. You understand that the challenge there is that we need at least to have the mandatory fields mapping among the two databases, so it is meaningful, this integration. For example, if our system has many fields and has all these responses proofs and reporting proofs, and the end system cannot support it, then yes, I would say that it's better to use the single interface, that it's more inclusive. But if also we are open to do adjustments to both systems, so that this integration is viable, we can definitely do it. And at this part, I also want to say that the system is fully customizable, so we can even support these kind of integrations, not only with the end database that it's QA and safety databases, but also with medical information databases in case that our client does not want to change these.
Yeah. And I can add, for example, also for ourselves, the same thing was the case, of course, that we have an existing safety database. It's not a secret. We use Viva, that's on our website, but we get similar questions, of course, for the other major safety databases like the LSMV or Argus, and then those technical connections, yes, they are made in that sense. Yeah. Okay. I really see that we're running out of time, and I wouldn't like to run over. I know there were a few more questions. We will try, if you have additional questions, just raise them to us after the meeting. We're very happy to answer those. For now, I also hand over back to Anna, maybe to close out the webinar officially.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you both, and thank you very much for everyone who has joined our webinar today and for the questions and the intriguing discussion. So if anything wasn't answered, or if you have any inquiries, please reach out to us at info@biomappas.com or for business inquiries at bd@biomappas.com. If you would like to learn more about industry news or insight into PV and MI, please follow us on LinkedIn. The recording will also be uploaded to YouTube and shared with you via email, so please keep an eye on that. Thank you once again for joining us today, and hope you all have a wonderful day.